So to get to the new boss, you need to actually clear the entire raid on the hardest difficulty, Molten difficulty. To get extra loot, you need to go one difficulty level up, and you will need some fire res. But just like we predicted, you need fire res. Go get your fire res, make your fire res items, get ready for the price of things to be more expensive. When you first zone into Molten Core, speak with Hydraxian Waterlord's NPC and choose one of 3 different heat levels: sweltering, blistering, or molten, with an increase in difficulty at each level. All right. Heat level 1 is the easiest of the 3 modes, is designed to be approachable to almost all groups. Sweltering is for those visiting Molten Core who are less prepared to handle the heat. Fewer consumables, fewer fire resistance buffs, etc. If things get too hot, you can swap heat levels anytime. Simply speak to the NPC at the entrance while not in combat. You will also have another opportunity to switch with the NPC spawning after the douses are done, after using the douses. Okay. Heat level 2, blistering, a normal mode that requires more coordination and basic preparation. For those who have moderate amount of consumables, enchants, buffs, normal fire resistance, etc. Blistering heat should be a breeze. Gear rewards for blistering heat are the same as sweltering, with an additional drop from bosses. So you'll have one more loot drop. Recommended fire res 96 or higher. Officially recommended fire res 96 or higher. Heat level 3, heat turns up in molten heat for skilled groups to face the fire. The rewards are the same as blistering, with a few additional items available later in the raid, along with unique weapon cosmetics. You are going to need over 226 or higher fire res. Can you handle the heat? Let's see. Can we handle the heat? Which each level increased difficulty with additional mechanics, damage, and increased additional requirements for fire resistance. In original World of Warcraft, resistance was more often an inconsistent statistic. Sometimes you will fully resist all damage, sometimes you'll resist none, even with maximum fire res being worn. Resistances still work this way. However, once you get to blistering or molten heat, those difficulties require a certain amount of fire res to progress consistently, and the required amount will be increased between blistering and molten. This is an additional layer to the usual have some resistance gear and hope it saves your healer some mana mechanic from original WoW. Some mechanics could leave you burnt to a crisp if you don't meet the requirement. So you literally potentially have to meet the suggested requirement. Uber's buff does not work. A new boss to heat things up. All right, we'll get to that in a second. We point this out because the need for resistance and resistance fights has long been a contentious one in World of Warcraft. While it's an iconic part of WoW, it's easy to see in hindsight that it's not always a great feeling to be incentivized to not wear your best DPS gear for appropriate fights. That's very true. We recognize this, and that's part of why we feel it's important to explain the intended design of this mechanic. One of the most fun and classic things is preparation for challenges, and the base game heavily rewards players for that preparation. We want to use fire resistance to play up that aspect of raid prep and promote healthy and satisfying gear progression as you gear up in Molten Core. So you can see that all of the MC gear does have fire res on it for the most part. When you first enter Molten Core and want to tackle the blistering heat, don't tab back to WoW for 2 minutes, please. Oh no! Oh my god. All right, you may need to wear suboptimal pieces to gear to simply to survive. Fairly quickly, however, more and more gear will drop in the raid that is optimal to you, including tier sets that will give you some fire resistance. The idea is that as you obtain gear, what you want to wear, they convey much of the same benefit as the less powerful pieces and that you farmed beforehand to enter in. The eventual goal of this gear progression is to allow you to succeed with the highest difficulty while using your actual tier set and your actual appropriate consumables and buffs and group coordination. Lastly, Molten Core Raid will have additional not yet known bonus boss. When MC releases, this bonus boss will be available for Molten Heat, which is the highest heat, right? Molten is the highest one, requiring players to clear every boss before gaining access. This boss is an optional challenge that groups can work towards over time. We do not wish to gate exclusive rewards behind this challenge content because this boss will be tricky and require progression through the rest of Molten Core on the highest difficulty. This boss will not drop unique or exclusive loot. Instead, he'll drop tier gear tokens and a chance at a few other exciting items, but all gear can be obtained somewhere else, probably legendaries. I think it'll allow legendaries to drop off the last boss. We hope to see a wide variety of groups attempt Molten Heat, satisfying progression, and not feel like they're missing out on exclusive power impacting gear they aren't able to get from Molten Heat, which makes sense. So you get more gear from going to heat level 2, and then you get cosmetic and some unique gear, probably more cosmetic stuff, from heat level 3, as well as the exclusive boss that gives you even more tier gear.